Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so as you turn the page to the other side, we take a look at this example here. That mouse is in the way, so hold on. And we start by finding that y-intercept. So yet again, where x is 0. And these are going to be your easy ones when we give you that y-intercept, because we don't have to go and find it, and I'll show you how we find it next. So our y-intercept is 0, -1. And remember that that's our a value. All right, before I move on, let me lock this in place so I don't move our notes. Okay, so then the second thing that we're looking for is our common ratio, which start at the bottom, so -8 divided by -4, -4 divided by -2, and -2 divided by -1. And many of us, as you're doing it, you can probably do this mentally to see that all of these are positive too. But keep in mind, if you're not sure, not 100% sure, then I need you to double check. So -8 divided by -4, -4 divided by -2, and -2 divided by -1. So we have a common ratio of 2. And so remember that this is our b value. We can easily see that it's actually going down in values. But based on the common ratio of a 2, we would say that this is an exponential growth situation. And we can write our function, so we have y equals that a value of -1 times, and our common ratio of 2. And then we raise it to the x power. Okay, so now let's talk about having to determine if it's exponential, finding that y-intercept, and writing that equation to model that table. So right now, we don't know if this is exponential or not. If it's not exponential, we're ready to move on and ignore the table. But if it is, we need to find the y-intercept and write that function. Okay, so we can start yet again by taking 500, dividing it by 200. By taking 200 and dividing it by 80. And by taking 80 and dividing it by 32. Okay, definitely can't do these completely mentally, or have to show a little bit of work. But here we go. So I can divide 80 by 32, and let's see what we get. Okay, we get 5 halves. Okay, 200 divided by 80. We get 5 halves again. Okay, so one more, and we know that this is a common ratio and that it's an exponential relationship. All right, so 500 divided by 200, and we get 5 halves yet again. So 5 halves is our common ratio, and that's our b value. So what do we know about this? If we talk about the equation, so it's y equals some value, and we know that we have 5 over 2 to the x power. So we're missing the y-intercept. Let's find it. What I want you to understand about an exponential function, why is that common ratio so important? What you're really doing is, it's a pattern of multiplication. So what really happens? You start with 32. And we take that number and we multiply it by that common ratio of 5 over 2. That gives us our next value of 80. But then we take 80 and we multiply it by 5 over 2 again. And we take 200 and multiply it by 5 over 2 again. That's the pattern for an exponential function. So then, how do I work backwards if going forwards is multiplying? Let's hope that you're thinking division. So I need to go back one jump to here. So what I'm going to do to get back here is take that 32 and I'm going to divide it by 5/2. And this value will give me what we have there. And we can test it too, I'll show you. So here, so what's 32 divided by, and I do want to use parentheses here, whoops, control divide, 5/2. And we get 64/5. So I can leave it like that. If it's a nice decimal that terminates, then I'm okay using that too. So I can go control enter, and we get 12.8. Okay, so 12.8 or 64/5, your choice there. Okay, so if we write our equation, so this would be y equals 12.8 times 5/2 to the x power. Say I wanted to write it using the fraction, so I would have y equals 64/5 times 5/2 to the x power. Okay, but before we move on, let's actually talk about that this is correct. And so let's start with 12.8 and let's multiply it by 5/2. Okay, so we start with 12.8. Now we're going to go times that common ratio of 5/2. If this is true, then as I multiply, I should come back to those same values that we saw. 32, then 80, then 200, and then 500. So times 5/2. Boom, 32. Times 5/2 again, 80, 200. Awesome. So my starting point at 0 was 12.8, and we just wanted to make sure, and that's how I can show you guys.